To put the timeline of religion in perspective, it is important to look at the first evidence of humans. Obviously, due to evolution, it's hard to tell exactly when our first ancestors came to be. For the purpose of this video, we will take the common thought and say the first fossils that look closest to ours from a common ancestor were from 6 million years BCE or before Common Era. It is also important to illustrate what religions we will be looking at, which will be the 5 major world religions: Hinduism, Judaism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. Also, one extra: Zoroastrianism, which I will get to why it is extra later. Final disclaimer: as with most things this far into the past, exact dates are highly debated. I took it upon myself to collect an average date for what I am stating, but all the sources will be in the description for review. Now, without further ado, let's get into the timeline of religion. So as stated before, the first common ancestors were around 6 million years before Common Era, depending on which fossils we are talking about, around Northeast Africa. Fast forward to 2630 before Common Era, which is when the oldest known pyramid in Egypt was built. Fun fact, the ancient Egyptians had a form of polytheistic religion in which they believed in many different deities like the god of air or the god of moisture. This was actually pretty common for that time around the world. Another example is the ancient Greeks, around 2000 before Common Era. Somewhere around the same time, something very interesting happened. Abraham was alive. Rapid history lesson. Abraham played an extremely important role for religion and for the world. Abraham is considered as the father of monotheism. The reason for this is because he is of high importance for 3 of the 5 major world religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. In Judaism, he is the father of the covenant, or the special relationship between the Jewish people and God, which claims the Jews have a unique position as the chosen people of God. In Christianity, the Apostle Paul taught that Abraham's faith in God made him the pillar of all believers. And in Islam, the Prophet Muhammad claimed Abraham as a believer before the fact. A couple hundred years later, around 1500 before Common Era, another interesting thing happened. The Vedas texts were written. These texts were religious in nature, and even though we did not know a lot about the authors, we do know one thing: it seemed to catch a lot of people's attention. It is now known that these texts inspired the world's first major religion. The issue is, no one seems to know for sure which came first. The battle for the world's oldest religion is fought between Hinduism, founded in Indus River Valley, and Zoroastrianism, founded in Iran. The Vedas texts have a lot in common with both religions, so this has stirred much debate. However, something that is clear is that Zoroastrianism wasn't officially founded until 600 years before Common Era, which may mean Hinduism is the winner. Fast forward another 100 years, 1300 before Common Era, and Moses was alive in Egypt. Moses is one of the main prophets of Judaism and is known for leading the Jews out of slavery in Egypt and taking them to the Holy Land. He is also the one whom acquired the Torah from heaven. Many years later, around 500 before Common Era, the Buddha was alive, around India. The Buddha is the philosopher on whose teachings Buddhism was founded. Now we get to CE, or Common Era. Around 30 years Common Era, Jesus was alive. Jesus was a preacher, religious leader, and the central figure of Christianity, as it is said he was the Messiah and the incarnation of God the Son. Around 600 years later, we get to the final major world religion. Around 600 Common Era, Muhammad was alive, around Saudi Arabia. Muhammad is said to be the final prophet and the founder of Islam, as he was the one to cite the Quran. It seems shortly after Abraham is when religion started spreading like a wildfire. Almost every major sacred text mentions Abraham in some way, even though these religions were founded thousands of years apart. Even though all religions claim to be the correct one, they almost all reference each other's prophets and major events. The purpose of this video was to show the timeline of religion, and to help clarify when these thoughts that seem to be part of our everyday lives came to be. I also think it is important to realize how all of these religions' sacred texts help piece together a puzzle of history, where otherwise there isn't really much to go off of.